Welcome, Professional Rookies Podcast. I'm your host, Rini Angolia, along with my partner, my sidekick, Brian Ferreira Beef. What's up, buddy? How was your week?
It was pretty good, thanks.
Week. I guess I can say week because we could do the shows every week.
Every
so
week,
how was your week?
Okay, pretty good. I burned my hand.
Which is on a stove? Which is surprising because you're like 4'4". I didn't even know you could reach the stove.
Well, yeah.
Were you on a step
I had
ladder?
a step stool.
Yeah, there you go.
You just feel like an idiot. You know, I'm watching my girlfriend. She's using the burner, and it's one of those glass top ones. You know.
Yeah.
So when you turn
That's
it
what we
off,
have.
it has the little red light that
Tell you
says
it's still
hot.
hot.
But and there were some crumbs on. I'm like being a neat freak, and I'm trying to rub the crumbs off. And sure enough, I rubbed my hand right over the burner, and I'm just like, 4 hours later, I still got ice on my hand. You know.
Well, you are a tough one, so
Yeah, it hurt. But now I got blisters. So
yeah.
that's it.
I didn't really do anything this week, so
No.
worked out. I'm working out hard. I'm going to be 50 this month, so
That's
I'm trying
right.
to
the countdown.
reform my body. So I did the old. I've never done this before, but I did the old. I'm going to do before and after. Hopefully,
Oh, yeah.
if the after is good. So I took some pictures in a mirror. I looked.
Should we put those on
I
Twitter?
lo-
Should we
well,
put those on
I
Twitter?
looked horrible. Well, I mean that's the goal. We'll see. We'll see in 20. What's the date today? Today's the 2nd. This will come out on the 3rd. So we'll see in 19 days.
Are you doing a
20 days.
program? Like,
I'm doing a program. I'm not going to plug it because they're not giving me anything to plug it. It costs me money.
you're losing weight.
But I am doing.
They're giving you help.
I am doing a program, and I do some running on top of it. So, but
Well, how about I went running 3 times last week?
you actually look good. I mean,
Yeah?
your color. I mean, you do look better.
I feel better. I'm going to try and go today after work. Listen to me after the podcast. But here's the problem.
What?
Here's the problem. I went for a run the other day, and my girlfriend got home. You know, I got home from work. Hey, you hungry? Yeah, I'm hungry. Okay. Blaze Pizza. Have you ever had Blaze
It's
Pizza?
excellent.
Phenomenal.
Hopefully, you just got like margarita or cheese. That'll make you feel.
Oh
a little
yeah,
better.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
You get
that's
like pepperoni.
No,
and
I did
sausage
build your
and-
own. And I got basically everything that you shouldn't put on a
Yeah.
pizza, and I ate the whole thing.
One bite. Everyone knows the rules.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you give it? Like a 7, 8?
One pizza. Everybody knows the rules.
What do you give it?
They're pretty good. I'd give them like a. Listen, I'm being from Jersey, so I can't. You know, it's like a 7.5. I'd give them. You know, Blaze.
You're a rookie. Is that 7.5?
Yeah, 7.5. What the hell's a half?
You don't.
Anyway,
Never mind.
Anyway, so
and
yeah,
it's a chain too. So, and then I got to bring up because I did get a lot of messages after last week's episode. My dad had open heart surgery.
Yes.
Ended up being triple bypass. He made it through. He's still in the hospital. He's miserable. Had like a little bit of a blockage yesterday. He had a lot of pain in his stomach. But I think they got it figured out. I'm going to head over there after this episode. See how Pops is doing. He'll probably be in the hospital till Wednesday or Thursday. But he's miserable. Anyone that knows my dad, I mean, he's like a Mack truck. He's going to be 82. He's just a
big dude.
meat hooks of hands. He was a construction worker his entire life. So there's no doubt to me he's going to get through it. But yeah, he's going through a little rough. He said it felt like someone took a baseball bat and hit him in the chest as hard as he could.
Yeah,
So I said, Dad, well, they did crack your sternum open with basically like a sawzall.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah.
but thank you for all the thoughts and prayers. I know a lot of people texted, some sent messages on social media. So I really appreciate that.
And we're glad he came through. And anybody who knows your dad, I think one of the funniest things I think is he's such a big guy, and he's got this. Does he still have that dog?
Yeah.
What kind of dog is that?
It's a Pomeranian. His name's Bear, and he misses his dog. And apparently, Bear is acting out because my dad's not home. He's really, really upset. So, but yeah, he loves
He's
that
got this
little
little
dog.
dog. I remember I saw him the first time with that dog. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And the dog is
He's mean.
vicious if you go anywhere near your father.
Yeah, he protects even my mom, and my mom feeds him. If she goes and tries to touch my dad, he'll attack. I mean, he does too. With those little sharp teeth.
He's mean.
I've watched him before.
Right.
We've brought him here because, as you know, this is the dog compound here.
Yeah.
He gets along with all my dogs, but he's stayed here before. But yeah, it's funny. And of course, my dad, for those who don't know, it's probably been 4 or 5 years, 3 years now. He had stomach cancer. He beat that. So that's why we're a little worried with this blockage thing. But we'll see. I'll get to the hospital today. I'll give you an update next week. But again, thank you, everyone. Yes. So let's, we always like to talk about last week's show. Tremendous show.
Yeah.
Autism is Sports, things you should know. If you haven't listened to it and you're just listening, logging on, downloading, listen to this one. First one, go back and listen to that one. Really got a great response. Now, it's one of those topics I wish more people would listen to. Obviously, we're a new upstart podcast. So if you've listened to that podcast and you like it, which I'm sure you did, share it with someone that you think would enjoy it and get the word out. And that goes for this week's topic as well. Yeah. Some of these, we have fun with some of them. We did like the Florida man, and we do crime and sports, and they're very interesting, I think, and you learn stuff from them. Last week, autism and sports, very important topic. This week, equally important, if not, I don't like to say which is more important, but a friend reached out on social media, and that's what I asked. We asked people to do. Reach out, professional rookies, at Rookies Podcast on Twitter, my Twitter, at Rini and Golia. We have a Professional Rookies Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. I have an ESPN Facebook page. So there's a million ways to find us.
Right.
And someone reached out, and I knew about this because I had seen some stories on it, but someone said, hey, it'd be a great story, a great message to get out of what's going on with athletes and mental health.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, in the last 2 months, 5 student athletes in NCAA have committed suicide. Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable. 4 of the 5 were female.
Right.
And so we'll get into the stats of it as we get into this podcast, but that female suicide in the age of like 20 to 24 is rising at an alarming rate.
It is. Yeah.
And the thing with athletes and mental health, and it's kind of similar, and we're going to get into it. We deal with it a lot, or dealt with it a lot in law enforcement.
Law enforcement, yep.
And there's a stigma there, not asking for help. And I've always said police officers being on a squad and in a unit, very similar to a sports team, and, you think people are fine. You work with them every day. And then all of a sudden a suicide happens. You're like, man, he or she seemed fine. So we'll kind of get into the comparisons there as well. And then it's a topic really hits home. I have 2 daughters, as you know. I've mentioned it before. One's a 19-year-old now. She's a college athlete. She plays Division II soccer. I'm going to kind of get into her story and kind of the mental health issues she went through before college. And a lot of that had to do with what happened to these kids with COVID and canceling their sports. So we'll get into that. I have a 17-year-old that's going through issues as well, kind of in her own way, that we're working through. And so really, I think the point here is if you're a parent and you have an athlete, it doesn't, we're going to probably concentrate on females because it was, like I said, 4 of the 5 were females, but it goes for all athletes. The kids are going through stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously to varying degrees. And we have to do better as adults, as coaches, as administrators, as parents of trying to hone in and sometimes you can do your best and it's still not enough. And, that's the sad reality of what's going on in our world. But hopefully we can bring light to this topic in this podcast. And if not answer some questions, maybe get more awareness out there of it.
Yeah. So suicide as a whole is just such a horrible, horrible event. And you look at these younger athletes and they're in the prime of their life. They're playing an elite sport. They're most times at a good college and everything's at their feet. And for some reason or other, they feel the need to take their own life. And that's something we don't want to do.
And we have to do a better job of reaching out to them. And I think the hardest thing is realizing who needs that help. But if we get the right, seminars get to them or workshops, it doesn't matter if someone is in a really good place mental health wise. They all can use that information. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, but you go back to law enforcement. You're absolutely right. It's just like a team. These guys and girls depend on you. If they're calling for help, you need to get there. And one of the biggest motivations for me, a lot of times when I'm out of shape, to get back into shape, you watch these videos and you see these cops and they're fighting with people and everything else. It's the same thing on the team. These athletes, they depend on each other. You have to be there, and to show a chink in the armor is not good.
And you personally, as a former homicide detective, we've talked about this in other episodes. I mean, you've given notifications to families after suicides, and the devastating effect.
It's horrible.
It's just crushing for families, and let alone if your child is like a standout athlete, you think they're on top of the world, and then that happens. I mean, it's just I can't even imagine. Again, my heart, my thoughts, my prayers. I mean, everything. It's not enough, but God bless these families. It's just horrible. And before we get in, we're going to kind of talk about the 5 that took their lives in the last 60 days, and kind of talk about them. We like to bring on this is one of these topics too. We like to bring on guests, especially experts, if you will. We talked about autism. We couldn't really match up. Well, it happened again this week. So we have a former partner, a guy by the name of Raul Rivas, 25 plus years in law enforcement. He's retired. Awesome guy. Worked alongside him for many years. Was on this, detective, robbery detective, violent crimes detective, warrant squad, fugitive unit, working with the U.S. Marshals, tracking down the worst of the worst. SWAT team member his entire career. Was there the night of Pulse. Was on one of the operators that went in the Pulse, and so he now travels the country with a group of people, and they talk about mental health issues for law enforcement. Yeah. And again, we already said how it kind of intertwines. So I reached out to Raul, and of course he's traveling to Denver today to do a seminar or workshop and they go to these cities, and it's not just one agency, multiple agencies will show up. And some of the groups that they partner with is Lighthouse Health and Wellness, Copline, Survivor First. So they get out there, and they talk and they give their experiences. And he was telling me how one of his coworkers that travels as well as a retired law enforcement officer that actually tried to take his life and survive. So I'm going to try to get both of them on, because this is one of those topics. Normally, you're not going to repeat a podcast topic, let's say a month later or 6 weeks later. This is one that I think deserves it.
Absolutely.
With them. And I basically told them, hey, after this episode, I'm going to send you the link, and then you guys can tell us what me and Beef screwed up, because inevitably we're professional rookies.
We are.
And our intentions are always good, but if we say something wrong or not quite right, we want to be corrected. And so experts like that, so we'll get them on. We just couldn't sync it up today again, but let's get into it. So again, 5 student athletes in the last 2 months. 3 of them were top-notch athletes at their Division I institutions. And I bring that up because, again, you think you're all conference, your player of the week, your team captain. They're on cloud 9. They're living the dream, but yet they have this something inside of them that nobody knows.
Right.
And then it erupts. And then the next thing you know, they take their own lives. And everyone's kind of scratching their head like, why didn't we see it? What could have we done different? And so one is first one I'll talk about, Lauren Bennett, standout softball player at JMU, James Madison University. Right. She was a catcher. Okay. She was just named CAA, Colonial Athletic Association, Player of the Week, literally just before she took her own life. Right. So again, shows you, top of her game, right? Playing great. I mean, in JMU, she helped take. Her statistics are ridiculous. Helped take JMU to the softball, to the NCAA playoffs, and just World Series, and just a great player. And it took everyone by to say it took everyone by surprise is an understatement. Sure. And you just have this young lady, beautiful young lady, playing her sport, Division I, great team, Player of the Week, takes her life.
And here we are. Yeah. Well, and we discussed this. What's going on in their lives? And I almost have a feeling that, and again, this is just us outside looking in, so this is not a comment on them individually, these people that we talk about and their lives, but you don't know what's going on in somebody's life, her personal life,